Chapter 1: The Crash. The storm raged outside, lightning splitting the sky like fractured glass. Captain Elias Varro adjusted the controls of his scout ship, the Starhawk, as the turbulence rattled the hull. He wasn't supposed to be this deep in uncharted space, but a distress signal had led him here, to the desolate, storm-racked planet of Xeris Prime. Mayday, Mayday, vessel disabled. Life support failing. The signal had been weak, barely a whisper over the static. But Elias wasn't the type to leave anyone behind. His ship descended through the thick, violet-hued clouds, the landing thrusters fighting against the howling winds. The Starhawk touched down hard, skidding across the jagged terrain before coming to rest at the edge of a dense, bioluminescent forest. Elias grabbed his survival pack and pulse pistol before stepping out into the alien downpour. The air smelled metallic, charged with electricity. In the distance, half buried in the mud, was the wreckage of a small transport vessel, the source of the distress call. He moved cautiously, scanning for life signs. The ship's hull was torn open, its interior dark. In movement, a figure stumbled out from the wreckage, collapsing into the mud. Woman. Chapter 2: The Survivor. She was humanoid, pale, almost translucent skin, with long silver hair plastered to her face by the rain. Her clothing was torn, her breathing shallow. When she looked up at him, her eyes were an eerie, glowing violet. Elias knelt beside her. "Hey, stay with me. You're safe now." She flinched at his touch, her body trembling. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "I'm here to help. What's your name?" "Lyria," she gasped. "You have to leave. Before they come." Before Elias could ask who they were, a guttural screech echoed through the trees. Something massive moved in the shadows, something with too many limbs, too many eyes. Lyria's fingers dug into his arm. "Run." Chapter 3: The Hunt. Elias hauled her up, half carrying her back toward the Starhawk. The forest erupted with movement, sinuous, chittering shapes darting between the glowing foliage. "Xeran hunters," Lyria panted. "They track wounded prey." Elias fired his pulse pistol blindly into the trees. One of the creatures screeched as the blast struck it, but more took its place. They were fast, too fast. He barely made it back to his ship, slamming the hatch shut just as something heavy thudded against the hull. The engines roared to life, and the Starhawk lifted off, leaving the predators behind. Inside, Lyria collapsed onto the floor, her body racked with shivers. Elias checked her vitals, elevated heart rate, feverish skin. "You're in shock," he muttered, fetching a medkit. But when he turned back, she was staring at him with an intensity that made his blood run cold. Chapter 4: The Truth. "You don't understand," Lyria said, her voice suddenly steady. "I wasn't the one in danger back there." Elias frowned. "What?" Her lips curled into a smile that was anything but human. "It's mating season." Before he could react, her body shifted, silver scales rippling across her skin, her limbs elongating, her eyes burning brighter. Elias stumbled back, pulse pistol raised. "What the hell are you?" Lyria, or whatever she was now, laughed, a sound like wind chimes and razor blades. "You rescued me, Captain. And now you're part of the cycle." The ship's alarms blared. The Starhawk wasn't responding to his commands. They were being pulled toward the planet's largest moon, where a massive, organic-looking structure pulsed with light. Chapter 5: The Nest. The ship landed inside a cavernous chamber, walls lined with pulsating veins. Shapes moved in the darkness, more like Lyria, their forms shifting between humanoid and something else. Elias fought, But they overwhelmed him. They didn't kill him. They had other plans. Lyria approached, her true form now fully revealed. A sleek, predatory creature with iridescent scales and eyes that held galaxies. "You're compatible," she purred. "A strong mate." Elias realized, too late, why the distress signal had lured him here. It was never a rescue. It was a trap. Chapter 6. The Choice. Elias wasn't going down without a fight. He activated the Starhawk's self-destruct sequence, a last resort. Lyria's eyes widened. "You'd rather die. Better than being part of your breeding program," he snarled. For the first time, something like regret flickered across her face. "You don't understand. Our species is dying. We need outsiders to survive." The countdown ticked. 5 minutes. Elias made his choice. Chapter 7. The Escape. He lunged for the controls, overriding the lockdown. The Zirans hissed, but he was faster, grabbing a plasma torch from the emergency kit and cutting through their restraints. Lyria watched, conflicted, as he fought his way back to the cockpit. "You could have stayed," she whispered. "You would have been revered." Elias didn't answer. He fired the thrusters, the Starhawk tearing free from the organic prison. Behind him, the nest exploded in a fireball. Epilogue, the warning. Weeks later, back in civilized space, Elias filed his report. Zirus Prime is to be marked as a quarantine zone. No ships. No contact. He didn't mention Lyria. But sometimes in the dead of night, he dreamed of violet eyes, and wondered if he'd made the right choice. Final chapter. The Echo in the Void. Vale Creos stood at the edge of the observation deck. His body aching, his mind numb. The celestial forge was dying around him, its systems failing, its corridors choked with debris. The air smelled of scorched metal and ionized plasma. But they had survived. Tisk limped to his side, her biomechanical limbs sparking from damage. "Nexus is gone," she said quietly. "The core is cold. We have maybe an hour before life support fails." Vale didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the viewscreen, where the anomaly had once loomed. Now there was only a scar, a jagged rift in space, still shimmering with unstable energy. "You were right," Tisk murmured. "It wasn't destroyed. Just displaced." Vale exhaled slowly. "It's still out there." A distant chime echoed through the ruined station. Both of them froze. "That's the comms array," Tisk whispered. "It's picking up a signal." Vale's blood turned to ice. "From where?" Tisk scrambled to the nearest working console, her claws skittering over the controls. A holographic star map flickered to life, and there, pulsing ominously, was a transmission point. "The Outer Rim," she said. "An uncharted system. But the signal? It's the same frequency as the anomaly." Vale's mandibles tightened. "It's calling to something." A deep, resonant thrum vibrated through the station. The rift in space pulsed, as if answering. Tisk's voice was barely a whisper. "Or something is calling it back." The last transmission. With the last of the station's power, Vale activated the emergency beacon. A single burst of data. Coordinates, sensor logs, everything they had witnessed. A warning. "Who will receive it?" Tisk gasped. Vale looked at the dying stars outside. "I don't know. But if we're lucky, someone will be ready." The celestial forge groaned as its structural supports gave way. The rift flickered one last time, then collapsed, sealing the anomaly's fate. Or so they hoped. As the station broke apart, Vale and Tisk strapped into the last escape pod. The engines flared, hurling them into the void just as the forge shattered behind them. Silence. A new signal pinged on the pod scanner. Not from the anomaly. From home. Tis gasped. They heard us. Vale didn't smile. He stared at the coordinates of the uncharted system still glowing on the screen. They heard something, he corrected. And as the pod hurtled toward safety, the stars themselves seemed to watch. Final end.